Willing to talk. Hey,
What's up? What's up?
Oh,
Jake?
is Jake here?
Yeah.
yeah.
Hey, Jake, how's it going?
So, man, good.
Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, Tom, why don't you tell us why you put us through this movie? And
Because it's awesome. If they ever can dig up the 70 millimeter print of it and show it at the Arrow, I am there, dude. I'm
Hell,
there.
hell yeah.
This thing, the whole opening gives everyone
Tom,
anxiety.
it's still happening, that thing with your audio. I don't know if you can like hear it.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
How's
it's
it?
like
Is it
it's
better now?
it's better now, yeah. But if you
Okay.
whenever you put it down, it's like bouncing off of something.
Oh, is that good?
That sounds much better, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cliffhanger is one of those movies I saw in the theater and just blew my mind. I was like, this is incredible action. Stallone is at his peak, I think, literally.
Mhm.
Uh, 35 millimeter Airy BL with Panavision glass. People don't realize Panavision actually bought the most Airy cameras or had it, you know. Um, yeah, they were the biggest, supporters of Airy. And in the 90s, that's how they kind of made Panavision mounts for the BLs. And I'd really like to know where all those went, to be honest.
They're in a
But
box somewhere.
yeah, they're somewhere, or somebody has, you know, the gear. I know some. Well, for instance, like Harris Savides, the legendary DP, rest in peace, had a Panavision mount for his 2C. So yeah, they're out there somewhere.
Jake, what did you think?
Yeah, what'd you think?
I liked it. I like watching John Lithgow in movies still.
That's a great point you brought up.
He holds up as an
Oh,
actor.
Because
oh man,
literally last night I went to see Blowout at the New Bev, and
oh
that
yeah,
is a great John Lithgow performance as a
yeah.
villain. And this is one of the worst villain performances that I've seen. His
Wait a
British
minute, wait a
accent is
minute.
so bad. It just comes and goes within the sentence.
Wait,
He's like mid
you
sentence. He's like,
clearly,
I'm not doing British
you
anymore.
clearly, you clearly haven't seen the Denzel Washington movie where he's like out of control. This is like maybe half of that.
It,
So
he's doing like
yeah,
such a cartoonish like villain in this. Like, what is his like motivation? The motivation is just to be evil. And
Yeah,
I think he just
lines,
yeah
the
he
lines in
cle
this like, God damn it, God damn
yeah
you bastard,
yeah
bastard, God damn it.
yeah
He's
Gabe
Stallone
yeah
is like kicking a guy off like off a mountain, and he's like, make sure your hands and legs are inside the car. Or, bro, your fucking like girlfriend is about to die. I'm
yeah
like, what?
yeah. It's like it's like the hardest part in life is sacrifice.
Yeah, yeah. What? It was
so
like
good.
But
Vanity level like dialogue.
I mean, the movie is supposed to be insane. It's not, it's clearly meant for fun.
No, that's what I'm
Uh,
realizing. Like they don't make like movies like this anymore in the sense that like it's playing on like so many levels. Like one thing right off the bat, like opening sequence. I have never felt this anxious like in an opening sequence in a while. Just because of
yeah,
those fact, like with the cameras it's shot, that they're actually on location. It's so
yeah, it
nail
feels it.
biting. It's
Yeah,
unreal. It's like this movie has the cinematography of an Oscar movie and the dialogues of a Razi movie, you know? Like, what
well,
happened?
look, look, we can forgive Rennie Harlan, director Rennie Harlan,
He's coming off of
sometimes.
Die Hard, right?
Die Hard 2,
Die
yeah,
Hard 2.
which is a really underrated movie. I think people give it, I think people sort of dog on that movie, but I think there's a lot of good things in that movie that I think they overlook, But
That one's great.
Cliffhanger, yeah, Cliffhanger, yeah, a lot of good miniature work too. Speaking of which, like the planes were all miniature, but Cliffhanger is one of those movies where you just kind of it's an adventure, you know. It's like
Yeah.
it turns. Of course, they
No,
had to shoehorn a love story too
but
within
it's
it,
that's the thing.
you
It's
know.
not consistent. There's so many things happening. At one level, it's like a man versus nature story. Another level, there's a
Yeah.
bunch of like cartoonish villains trying to get a bunch of cash from like the
Oh
mob
yeah.
with this device that can apparently like track the in like the in the Alps. By the way, that's another thing. Like the choices in this movie are just wow. They were supposed to shoot in. It's supposed to be the Rocky Mountains, but they just
Yeah.
were
I
like,
think
"Nah, that's not aesthetic
I
enough.
think I
Let's
think
go to
that's
the Alps."
Spain, right? Yeah. Or oh, it's
No,
in the
it's
Alps.
supposed
Yeah.
to be the Rocky Mountains in like whatever, like in America,
Colorado.
Colorado, yeah. But instead, it's the Alps because the director liked the aesthetic more. Same reason, like there is no reason John Lithgow needed to be British. He could have done the
Yeah.
exact same thing
Yeah.
as
That's true.
he was like,
Yeah.
nah,
There's no
nah,
reason.
do this
Yeah.
British, do this
Yeah.
British.
Yeah. I think obviously that was a paycheck for him, but
Also,
like he
like
was
some of
having
the
fun.
other henchmen, I couldn't believe like how like cheesy their lines were. Like, who are these people? Ah, I just want to see and he's throwing shade like, I just want to see a mountain man bleed. I'm like,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
not a mountain man. Like, and why is that a diss, bro? You're a fucking
Well,
criminal.
or the Scottish guy who just loves soccer and he just
Yeah,
has
yeah,
to
he's just kicking the
spend
shit out of
time.
him, like doing his own
Oh,
commentary.
oh, dude, this is a movie where Michael Rooker is like the least,
Oh my
the
God,
least.
dude. Michael Rooker needs like like an extra like paycheck for this movie. The shit they put
Well,
him through. The whole movie is either
but
getting beat the shit out of or tortured.
but he's the least. He's the least big of this movie. Like he's actually subdued compared to the rest of them. You
Dude,
know.
and even the woman character, like
Oh, Janine Turner.
Janine
Yeah, Janine
Turner,
Turner.
she's supposed to
Yeah,
be like his colleague, right? Stallone's colleague. She knows the
yeah.
same exact mountaineering stuff that he knows. She's like a mountain woman also. Then she goes in the cave and those bats come out and he's like, don't scream
Oh
for the
yeah, she screams. Yeah, yeah,
like a little girl. I'm like, I
yeah,
haven't seen like such a
yeah,
helpless, like, leading lady since like, I don't know, the
yeah.
40s.
Yeah, she's supposed. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, but logically speaking, that was
No, that's the
silly.
thing. It's
I
like
get it.
all their attention, all their money went into like securing these crazy locations, doing these in the stunts are unreal, like
Yeah,
how anxious they make you feel. Some of those
yeah.
jumps, those parachute jumps,
Are you
some
guys? Are you afraid of heights? Because I am.
Stallone is, I'm
I
not.
can't do it. I
Stallone
can't
was.
do it. If I'm higher
Yeah,
than where I know that I will fall and either break something or die,
yeah,
I get like, I'm gonna get off of here quick right now.
yeah. So
Apparently, Stallone was
so
afraid of heights too. So that's even crazier because he did a lot
wow.
of the stunts on this movie.
Oh my God, the beginning when they're on the lake. Okay, so the whole idea is this. He's a professional mountain man who goes out on a hike or goes out on a ledge one day to save his best friend's girlfriend because they got stuck on a mountain. And during the rescue, she plummets to her death. And that's not funny, but
One of the most hilarious death scenes. Like I burst
and
out laughing.
and so he gets fear of heights now. Meanwhile, there's a heist, an in-air heist of all the money they're about to destroy because it goes out of circulation. Money apparently goes out of circulation, and it gets hijacked by the gang, and also an undercut. Like I guess he's kind of a traitor.
Yeah, he's a cop that
Uh,
like goes to the other side.
yeah, and so the money gets lost during the transit, and so they all go searching for it, and then they run into Gabe, who Stallone plays, and Gabe is having some issues because he comes back trying to reconnect with Janine Turner's character, and she's like, "Dude, you've been guilt tripping yourself for 2 years, 3 years, for a while, and yeah, that's kind of the plot. And now they have to get off the mountain alive. Is that about it?
To Stallone's credit,
Yeah.
he is trying to give like a good performance. He is like tapped into the character. The character has major PTSD, just dropped his
Yeah,
best friend's girlfriend off a mountain. Just straight up dropped her, dude. Straight up, like, lets her go. He could have easily,
Right.
like, he has the arms of, he's literally Sylvester Stallone, dude. A few years ago,
Well,
he was Rambo. It must have been
I
so,
wanted,
I don't know, for me, it was so hard to believe as an audience member that this motherfucker can't just pull her up with her arm, you
well, I
know?
wanted it. Well, okay, so I wanted to talk about that too. So you remember in Commando when he drops David Patrick Kelly off the cliff and he goes, "Oh, you promised you'd kill me last." He goes, "I lied," and he drops him.
Mhm.
Um, well, apparently the director thought that he could actually do that, hold a guy upside down with one arm. And he goes, "No, dude, are you insane? Like that doesn't happen." So we think that Stallone can hold on to,
No,
this
but by
girl,
movie logic, like, look, if you're really getting realistic, nobody can. Nobody can
right?
hold a full adult person with one arm, no matter how strong they are.
Right,
But in
right.
movie logic, like the weakest people do this all the time. They'll just
Well,
put
then,
an arm down and they'll hold an entire person. So by
but
that,
then Rooker, but then Rooker spends the entire time guilt tripping. He's like, "You saw her drop. You watched her drop." It's like, come on, man. You
man,
know?
Rooker, he's
And
just a funny
she's like, "Nobody blames you." Meanwhile, Michael Rooker, it's all your fault.
guy.
So yeah, the henchmen are kind of the henchmen are great. They're made to be, killed off.
That's the part that like I couldn't connect because the tone of the movie is like kind of serious and realistic. It's like, no, this is for real, dude. This is happening. But the henchmen are straight up like from Dick Tracy. So like that's
Yeah.
the like disconnect for me.
That's a good comparison.
So, but did you? Yeah, they're cartoonish. They're cartoonish, but that's part of the fun of these '90s
But that's
style
what it is. I
movies,
feel like
though.
Sure.
Lester Sloan wasn't having fun enough. He's just like heartbroken, tragic hero. He's like a sad face the whole movie. He was like if he was just
Yeah,
having a little bit more fun, I could have gotten into the campiness. The movie is like, yo, this is like Die Hard is like kind of wink wink a little bit funny. He has like his wife trouble, he has marriage problems, but mostly it's about the fun. And for some reason, like I feel like he was trying to shoehorn that same experience on a mountain. It just doesn't
right.
work. Like you can trap people in a building. A mountain is just there's too much going on. The awesome stuff was these crazy shots, like some shots of the avalanches. I'm like, whoa,
Yeah,
dude. They could have
yeah,
actually triggered a real avalanche. Like some of the shots of real people hanging off mountains are unreal.
yeah,
Some of the aerial shots are crazy. The fact that they hammered an entire helicopter upside down on the side of a
yeah,
cliff is
dude.
insane. But at the same time, it's like the rest of the movie was directed by like a first time student filmmaker who was told like
Yeah,
only you only get one take, no notes, just fucking keep rolling.
yeah. Let's keep rolling. Well, Travers, the guy who plays Travers, is sort of a character actor, but like his character is so ridiculous too. He's like, "I'm gonna get him.
Dude,
I'm gonna
honestly,
get
I thought
him."
his character had
Yeah,
more of an arc than Stallone.
like
His character at least like slowly like starts out as on the right side of the law, defects to the other side, and then slowly is like throughout the movie he's like bubbling and like unraveling, and his last like little blowout at like Quaylen. John Lithgow, on the other hand, is just what is your deal, bro? You're just like
well,
some
he's
evil
psychotic. Yeah,
British psychotic for what? What's the reasoning
yeah.
behind his psychosis?
he, he
Just
wants money.
cause
He wants money. He wants money for no
there are
other
so
reason.
many
Yeah,
better ways to like get money. Like he eventually because it's not just about money. He's not like logical like that. He goes on this bullshit about love and sacrifice, and you can't get off this
yeah.
mountain. Like
Well, yeah, that's well. I mean,
because he's
that's a
also
good
playing
question.
like some game or something apparently. Because he's like the game
That's
is over.
yeah, yeah. Like I think there's something to be said. I mean, I think wasn't his backstory like he was sort of part of. I forget. Like, is his backstory like he was part of the? He knew that somebody knew the inside of this, right? Besides Travers, they had to conspire behind the scenes
Apparently
before,
he's a dirtbag because Travers is all like, I'm stuck here on this mountain with a dirtbag like you.
right? So,
He's like a known criminal.
so I just like the idea that it's like so the plot is so big, like it's just, hey, I got an idea. let's
Yeah.
Die Hard on a mountain, like it couldn't get any bigger. And I think I think Stallone and Sylvester and Schwarzenegger had like some sort of bet to see who could do the bigger, like a crazier movie.
Oh,
You
really?
know? And, well, I mean, obviously Schwarzenegger won with The Last Action Hero,
Hmm.
but I think this was sort of like part of their bet is to see, how big their movies can get.
I like
I mean, I had a crush on Janine Turner. I mean, she clearly was, obviously out of place, but still, she's fun, you know.
He's cute in the movie for sure.
And there's only 4 people that work at that park,
Yeah,
you know.
there's 4 people.
Is this the first time you've seen it, Abinant?
Yes, first time.
That's the first time.
First
No
time, but
kidding.
also I have a weird memory, and I don't know if I'm hallucinating, but as a child, I remember playing like a cliffhanger game on the PC. Was there ever like
Really?
a cliffhanger game? Like a very shitty
I don't
8-bit
know.
quality cliffhanger game on the PC you'd play with like, and it was just same thing. He would like climb on top of the thing, and like there were people try to get him.
It's possible. Yeah, I never did the research to find out if there was a game back in the 90s that had that. But yeah, it's entirely
This movie,
possible.
man, it seems like a capsule in time. It's like a moment in time. Like a lot of the choices, a lot of the aesthetic.
I mean, it's really, you have to, like, those 2 stoners who apparently are
Yeah.
friends with Gabe, who, yeah, I mean, they, they kind of were, like, they kind of were also characters from Point Break. I think one of them was on Point Break.
Oh wow.
And the other guy is obviously a character actor that does all that. He's always a stoner, you know? Like, dude, bro, let's go extreme sport kind of thing,
Right.
let's go base jump. Base jumping was apparently big
Yeah.
in the 90s,
Yeah.
jumping off of, things.
Dude,
And,
one thing I was
yeah,
realizing watching this movie is like they just don't mount movies like this anymore. When now they think of an action movie, like when I was watching that Ryan Gosling Russo brothers movie, Fall Guy or
the
something.
gray,
The Gray Man, the Gray Man,
the
the
gray
Gray Man.
man.
I felt nothing. He's jumping
Yeah.
off of buildings, off of trains, like she's ramming into like stuff, and it was like nothing. And
Yeah.
this like makes you feel stuff, dude. It makes the hair on the back of your neck stand as the people are falling down because they're photographing it like really. There is almost no CGI, I think, or no CGI in the movie because this was
Yeah.
before like the CGI wave was about to come.
Yeah. I think they just do minimum like green screen stuff because it was a lot of work back then.
It's
It was a ton
also
of work.
like it's like a marvel in like location scouting too, which is something used to happen in movies. Movies were the big medium, people didn't have like so many sources where you'd watch like HD nature documentaries. Like people looked forward to the next movie where the director would take you into this new place. So in those terms,
Yeah.
like Cliffhanger, I do believe like needs to give him props. Where like what a place to mount a movie, literally on the like Swiss Alps,
Yeah.
and make it like that. You feel the weight of that man versus nature battle. But I feel like it somehow got like dwindled in trying to do too many things. If they'd kept it just about that, I feel like it would have been a more compelling movie, but they had to make it like a popcorn
There's
blockbuster.
some, yeah, like a heist. They put the
Yeah.
heist in
They
there.
put
And
the
I
heist in
mean,
there,
that's,
they put a romantic, and this whole idea with the tragic hero with like a traumatic past who has to like redeem himself. What is up with like I see that so much in like Hollywood up until now. It's like a
well,
favorite trope.
in the 90s, I mean, they had a lot of those types of themes in terms of redemption, like,
Hmm.
uh, in fact, they have a scene where he's holding Janine Turner the same way and he doesn't let her go. So it's like you kind of have closure with that, you know? So a lot of it was a lot of redemption. Uh, Although, it's still kind of messed up that he watched a woman just plummet. That, like, I don't know. Okay, so when you're watching that movie, when I was a kid, I saw that opening. I was like, "You're not coming back from that, buddy." Like ever. I was so messed up as a kid, and as a kid, I mean like 18 years old. But I was like, "Oh my god!" So when you watch that opening, you either go with it or you're done. Like it's like that's in the back of your mind for the rest of the movie. You know.
Jake, I think you had a thought earlier.
Yeah, I don't remember. I was probably around 10 when I saw it.
Wow.
I mean, who is this made for?
Yeah, who is this made for?
Who's the
I
audience
think
for this?
it's like I think it's I mean thinking about like the time, I mean, people were pretty comfortable around that time too. I
I
guess
think
the
so.
Gulf War was probably going on, wasn't it?
93, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was only a Gulf War. I mean, that was like a week.
I think they were trying to make like a 4 quadrant movie. Like it's a really broad. It's trying to reach like a broad audience. It's trying to impress everyone.
Yeah.
Dudes who want to see action, like girls who want like a little like romance, like the more serious people who need like emotional character depth, and people who just want to see
Yeah.
cool shots, like ex-sports guys. I think it's trying to impress everyone, which is why it kind of, for me, gets a little diluted.
Well, back in that day, I remember, okay, so directors actually had a lot of clout back then. So when I saw Rennie Harlan, I was like, oh shit, I'm going to watch the hell out of this movie.
Mhm.
Because, Die Hard 2, I really liked. Ford Fairlane, I really liked. The Nightmare on Elm Street, I really liked. He had he was super talented guy. He was supposed to direct Alien 3. And I was like, I think his, oh, and also listening to his commentary on Cliffhanger and most of his, Deep Blue Sea, he's actually he talks to filmmakers. If you listen to it, he's the same way Guillermo del Toro is, which he'll be like, oh yeah, we use Kinos in this shot. We shot at a 5.6. He's like really like into the technical side of it as well. Like he knows who he's talking to, in the technical side. They'll tell you which vendors they use. This is crazy. Yeah. Like how optics work. It's pretty
Knows his
remarkable that
stuff. He knows
they
his stuff.
care because you don't know who listens to the commentary tracks and he just figures it's other filmmakers, you know?
Mm.
Guillermo del Toro is the same way. Yeah. I mean, did you have fun watching it?
That's where I was like conflicted. Like whenever it was like the shots of like the vista, the nature, the action scenes, those were like thrilling. And then the characters would start talking, and I'm like, what the fuck? What are we doing? This is
Okay.
not a serious movie. But why are they pretending like it's a serious movie? And the quips and the jokes, the cheesy lines, it's like they just weren't having fun enough for them to land for me, you know? I feel like they should have
Mm,
either leaned one way or the other. Either go make this prestige movie that's like man versus nature in the Alps, or like go full campy like Last Action Hero Schwarzenegger, you know? I feel like they went
yeah.
somewhere in the middle and like it didn't click for me.
Well, like some of the gore, it's actually pretty somewhat gory
It
because
is.
he takes that dude and he pins him into one of the stalactites or stalagmites. All his guts come down. I'm like,
A lot of like blood
Jesus.
spurting out, like a lot of dudes like getting like hammered. The gunshots are visceral too. You see like the squibs
Oh
like
yeah,
blasting off.
yeah, it's pretty brutal.
Yeah.
So obviously you can recut it to a PG-13 type, but they leaned into the rated R a lot, which I appreciated as a
So then
kid.
that's where it is fails, you know, because I guess that's what the side they were trying to go for. Rated R, serious, you know. But then
Mhm.
for me, it was like campy and like disgenuine. It feels like they didn't spend time at all like on character. Maybe a little bit on Stallone's character, but
Yeah,
other characters weren't like fleshed out. Like they were very like surface level, like just like a
I feel like
hodgepodge of
on
other things.
on the production side of this type of movie, I feel like they overlook a lot of that stuff just to get the technical side down, because it's a lot of things. You're talking about like crane shots, uh, cable shots,
See,
helicopter
I think
shots.
that's what it is
Oh
too. Both of
boy,
you guys saw this in the theater for the first time, didn't you?
I saw it in the theater for the first
Yes,
time. Yeah.
I'm seeing it like on a bad print from an illegal website for the first time. So all that like
Correct.
awe of the like, the vistas and the scale, like it's really not hitting for me. Like
Mm,
for me, like a lot of like it's like the dialogue and like, the plot was really what was coming through. Some of the stuff I could
yeah.
still gauge, would have looked like insane, but I can
This is how
imagine.
this is how I'm watching it.
Oh wow.
I level
Okay.
with like really high sound.
Right.
So it's
Nice.
like you just like you consume it. It just is like
It's just
Yeah.
in your face.
You're kind of missing out on the anamorphic quality of these shots here, but yeah, I
Yeah.
just remember just, oh my God, like, did they really do that? And of course, they they're yeah, the production of itself probably is probably more interesting than the movie, but the
No,
movie is typical 90s. Yeah.
Tom, you're so right in that like this would be the right movie to see on 70 with like a packed crowd. And like, their reactions on some of the stuff would make my experience more enjoyable.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a crowd. It's supposed to be like crowd
Like a
pleaser.
crowd
And,
movie. Exactly. It's not one
yeah.
like watching this by myself, I felt so dumb. I was like, what am I doing with my life? It's a
no,
crowd.
I mean,
I liked
a
it.
lot of. Oh, go ahead, Jake.
Well, I was just saying, like logistically, I think there's a lot of things to learn from in terms of like, how do you coach your actors to deal with makeup effects, blood effects, stunts, rear
Mm,
projection, um, shooting on location,
Mm,
very remote mountain. Who do you bring? How many days do you budget for each shot? Things like, I think there's things like that with movies such as this back then that um, I think the scale of that has come down on a widely, even though there's still like some crazy cool big movies like that.
yeah, I mean, everything like in the 90s, they didn't have CG heavy movies, so
Yeah.
everything had to have been done practically. And you appreciate the fact that they're really taking, the punishment of being up there. They're actually in the Alps somewhere and cold. And I know how when it's cold, it's cold. Yeah.
you do appreciate it more, man. It just hits more for some reason. And I know it's such a cliche, but the location does become a character in the film. Like when it's
Yeah.
a real location and it's being filmed with those amazing cameras and those lenses, you feel it, man. The
Mhm.
stakes are
Yeah.
more realer. It grounds you in the reality of the film. And I really do miss, like, I haven't seen like a last movie that took me to a new place in the world, that I hadn't seen and like photographed it beautifully. Like
Yeah.
that's part of the like I was watching like De Palma's like, commentary on Blowout.
Well,
And the
out.
way he was
Yeah.
talking about it, he was like, wow. He's like, I hate when directors use like over the shoulder, like OTS, like, this. He's like, you're supposed to think about camera like in terms of relationship to the character. And
Mm,
similarly, like a lot of these conveniences of shooting movies in like town stage and like Van Nuys, takes away from the experience of movie watching. It's not
mm,
supposed to be like all like smoke and mirrors. There's supposed to be like there's supposed to be a pigeon in there too. And then you use
yeah.
smokes and mirror to hide it.
Yeah. It's a lot of things to think about because I remember watching or hearing a story where Michael Cimino was making Year of the Dragon, and he showed it, and Kubrick was like, how did you? They shot it in England, and Kubrick was like, how'd you make New York in England? He was baffled by the fact that he made it like it was a street Kubrick grew up on when he was a kid.
Hmm.
And he goes, how'd you make? He goes, they had the grade sort of slightly elevated, and that's a detail that you have to be very aware of, right?
Hmm.
And that's something that not many people think of because the details are one expensive, but also that you just because of your everyday life you just overlook it.
Hmm.
And he was able to fool Kubrick in Year of the Dragon, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty impressive.
Hmm.
But he knew that the streets weren't flat, right? Soundstage or backlots
Hmm.
are all sort of looks fake because it doesn't have like a street gradient
Hmm.
that happens in location.
Mm.
So you can't fake the Alps by putting a green screen and
Yeah,
doing that. And that's what the problem with a lot of Marvel movies were. I just saw Deadpool, Wolverine, or whatever,
yeah.
and yeah, they were in some forest area, and it just all looked kind of fake. Even though I'm sure they were there, but they're just the way that they kind of staged it, something just didn't. It just felt wrong. Something felt wrong, and
Mhm.
I'm sure
Can't
there's a
ground
lot of green
yourself in
screen.
those realities. Like it's like there is something just um it's a phantom, it's like for me, I feel like it's like a matrix simulation. A lot of these movies now, they feel like that. They don't
Yeah,
feel like they're happening in like real world. Like
yeah. How's it that humans can detect that?
from
Isn't that funny?
2 million years of evolution, I feel like
Okay.
we may not be able to articulate it, but I feel like everyone can detect it.
Yeah. Like
Mhm.
something is off. Like just the smallest detail you never think about. And people just realize that that's not, real and just kind of takes you out of it. It's a feeling more than a sort of intellectualized idea, I think.
It's kind of
And
like it's the uncanny valley, but like beyond um like robotics or animatronics, because there's like two diverging fields of like that thought where it's like there's what we know of like, oh, these realistic quote human robots are a little off and weird, and that's kind of the example that's used a lot. But there's also kind of like a temporal environmental sense of like the uncanny valley, and it's you can be in a space. I think that's what you're pointing out to, because I've thought about this, and it's I think that's kind of like the spatial sort of uncanniness where we exist in three-dimensional space and we see light fall off and reflect off of things back into
mm-hmm.
our eyes. And I think
Uh-huh.
I think film does a great job of picking up things that pixels can't necessarily describe by approximating pixel values.
Mm.
And so when you shoot these digital effects or do weird things or like do a rear project, even back then do a rear projection thing or something, you're basically taking a flat surface of light and integrating
Mm-hmm.
it with a three-dimensional space that's lit and recording
Mm-hmm.
that with another flat surface. And so it's off. It's just
Yeah.
inherent. We're going to notice it. We're going to notice
The
that little
yeah,
bit.
the nuance of that is so overlooked.
Mhm.
It's such a strange little thing. But also like because perfection, it's similar to digital and film, right? Imperfections is what makes us sort of feel like something is real versus like something that we can intellectualize as real.
100.
So there's something about in film school, I would light things perfectly, you know, and it would always look sort of like, but that's not how reality looks. I mean,
Sunlight
it,
would
it
never
just
come
has
through the
little
window
imperfections.
in perfect ways. Yeah.
Yeah, people aren't backlit all the time, which but
And you start to
there's
notice it sometimes in
imperfections.
movies, it takes you away from the reality. It's like, the facade is so obvious.
Yeah. Well, people
And
try to
there's
make
a
it
randomness to
perfect.
reality too, where like digital kind of takes that out a little bit. Because if everything is calculated, how can it be random?
Yeah. Yeah. That's what well, I mean, a lot of people try to make it, perfect. They try to perfect, that's, to me, if you watch Blade Runner 2049 versus 1982, that's your perfect example right
Mm.
there. As down and dirty as they try to make 2049 sometimes, it always sort of looked clean.
Yep.
And 82 was, you can smell that, you can smell that street.
Dude, I saw the blowout in the theater and whatever print they used, it just had that kind of like, it was just like a little like dimmer, like it didn't have that like 4K remaster quality some of these Criterion prints had. And I was
Mhm.
just in the film mode. I don't know how to tell you this feeling like I had more
It's
reverence
gritty.
for I had more
Yeah.
reverence for the film because it felt more film. It felt like a movie. Whereas
Mm,
like these days, I feel like I'm watching a video, like a
yeah.
dude like video, and I have inherently less reverence for it.
Yeah.
And the same picture blowout, I was watching YouTube videos of, much more clear, like 4K mastered. I'm seeing the colors like more brighter, but the experience now still isn't the same as it was like in the theater. Like
Yeah.
there is something like there's philosophically something about scarcity and a lack thereof and less that kind of makes the thing more inherently beautiful.
So in Cliffhanger, he's within the environment, and they have to kind of maintain a sort of consistency throughout the entire movie, and there isn't any because sun changes, the weather changes. They're trying to maintain that, and you can feel the struggle when it comes to making the movie. And for me, I absolutely appreciate that as a filmmaker, to see how they were able to just kind of barrel through making a movie at that altitude for one, and also like maintain safety uh, on another, and
Mhm.
also bring up film the entire time. Shooting on film up there with a somewhat heavy camera
It's mostly shot in
that
natural light, right?
pretty much, yeah. I mean, bounce light. If you see the behind the scenes, you can see that it's, basically just a bounce board, and because they can't bring up a 12 by up
Right.
there, and the thing would fly away. But like, and then just to do the stunt work on top of everything else, how long it takes to set shit up. It's like it's
But I feel like
insane how they were able to do that.